As we start this brand new live edition of Squared Circle Radio, I'm going to borrow a line from Sam Roberts, who said earlier today, I thought I was going to come on my podcast and talk about some fallout from Crown Jewel. And I thought I was going to come on here and just recap some things and flesh out some thoughts about what happened at this weekend's pay per view. And then by lunchtime, the vision turns on Seth Rollins. What in the world? Welcome to Squared Circle Radio Live here on our YouTube channel on a Monday night. My name is Chris Belcher. Thank you for being with us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching the replay, or whether you're just listening on podcast. We appreciate you being here. Drop your comments, drop your questions in the chat. I want to get to each and every one of those as we are live tonight, talking all about WWE Crown Jewel, the fallout, John Cena, AJ Styles putting on an instant classic, and of course, the vision implodes on Monday Night Raw. Thank you again for being with us. If it is your first time, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't help or it doesn't hurt you. It helps me. Doesn't hurt you at all. We would appreciate that so very much. Want to apologize in advance, dealing with the ever-changing weather here in Nashville, and it's got my throat all scratchy. So if you hear me hacking, I'm going to do my best to hit this mute button over here, but I may miss it, and I do apologize, but we're going to try to power through this show as best we can because it is very, very important. Again, I thought I was going to get to come on here and talk about Crown Jewel this weekend. What a show it was. A show where Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns both get pinned, and they're not the headline as we turn the page to Monday. I mean, if we would have talked about this on Saturday afternoon after the pay-per-view happened live from Perth, Australia, maybe that is the headline, but on Monday after Raw, no, not the headline anymore. So I want to talk about the vision imploding, and then I'm going to go back, kind of backtrack and talk about Seth versus Cody, Crown Jewel, and all of those kind of things. So again, dealing with these Tennessee allergies, bear with me. Swig a Mountain Dew for the worker man as we get started. Trying to clear the throat a little bit. Trying to make this happen as best we can here. All right, let's get to it. Seth Rollins walked into Monday Night Raw as the Crown Jewel champion and the World Heavyweight champion. And he thought the vision was clear. And the vision was all aligned. And that all four of them were on the same page. But Bron Breakker had other plans as he speared Seth Rollins out of his shoes to end Monday Night Raw. Paul Heyman looked shocked. Bronson Reed really didn't know what to do, and Bron Breakker gave both of those guys a choice and said, either you're with me or you're not. And both Bronson Reed and Paul Heyman seemingly have chosen to go with Bron Breakker and to leave Seth Rollins laying. What an end to Monday Night Raw. Now, lots of rumors swirling online about the status of Seth Rollins following Crown Jewel. Looks like he injured his shoulder doing a coast-to-coast against Cody Rhodes. And don't know how long he's going to be out. He was not in a sling or anything on Raw, but he was spotted on the streets in a sling. So we'll see. I don't know. Some people online are reporting that this was done very early. This was a major pivot by creative because they don't know how long Seth is going to be out. Well, let's poke holes in that for just 1 second. I'm not saying that Fightful, who I saw was credited with that report, I'm not saying that they're wrong. Let's poke a few holes in that and let's just find some logic and let's just try to draw our own conclusion here on Squared Circle Radio, because that's what we like to do. I don't want to dive into all the rumors, and I don't want to get sucked into everything that everybody online is saying. I want to take what people are saying and draw my own conclusion. So, some say this was a pivot. Some say that Seth Rollins is going to be out for a while, or at least we don't know the extent. So this turn was sped up. Okay, I can believe that because we all have said, at least on this podcast, that it seemed like after WrestleMania that this group was put together to build up Bron Breakker. Now, we didn't know how big of a star Bronson Reed was going to become and how dominant he was going to become as a result of all this, but it seemingly was Evolution 2.0, and that Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins were here to build up Bron Breakker. And we knew one day that Bron Breakker would turn on Seth Rollins, and that Seth Rollins would seemingly pass the torch to Bron Breakker. We just didn't really know it would be 6 months after this whole thing started. So, all that to say, I can see why a lot of people would say, man, this was really quick. This group didn't do a whole lot. And they pulled they pulled the rug out from under them really, really quick. Okay, that could easily be the case. Could also be, again, sped up if Seth Rollins really is hurt and we don't know what's going to happen with him, his availability, how severe his shoulder injury is, the championship. Let's go with that for just a second. The World Heavyweight Championship still on Seth Rollins. Now we know that Bron Breakker held up the championship at the end of the night. So one would lead you to believe that Breakker would be chasing Rollins for that championship. Now, a couple things at play here. Number one, we've seen guys relinquish championships when they're really hurt. So again, we may not know the extent of Rollins' injury until he gets back to the States. So I can see why they did not want him to relinquish the championship right now. Also, he just won the Crown Jewel championship. So in a night where it's supposed to be celebratory for him, you wouldn't want all of that momentum to come crashing down because you don't know the extent of his injury. I get that. I understand that. Also, you had a triple threat match for the number one contendership for that championship between CM Punk, Jey Uso, and LA Knight. So you're already preparing the next challenger for the championship. So if Bron Breakker was going to be that guy just by holding up the championship, because we've seen that before, guys attack the champion, they hold up the title, and automatically they're the number one contender. So if that was going to be your plan, why did you go through with the triple threat match? I guess because you want to have another backup plan because you don't know. Okay. All of that also, I can see logic behind all of that. Here's another big piece of logic that you have to backtrack. And then you got to look at all of these things and how these things have played out. This whole time, since Clash in Paris, really, Seth Rollins has been distant from the division. He hasn't even really done anything with Paul Heyman. He had the thing with Becky and AJ and Punk. AJ Lee, not AJ Styles. Excuse me. So you had that. And then as we're going towards this Cody Rhodes match, Rollins is very self-focused. He's focused on him. He's focused on doing it himself. That's a lot of what he said in his promo on Raw. He did it himself. He didn't need anybody else. He chose the people around him, but he didn't need them. All of these things that Rollins has been saying, especially the promo last week backstage between Heyman and Rollins. Hey, what if I lose? Well, you lose the faith of the locker room. You lose the bronze. You lose my confidence. I begin to doubt choosing you over Roman Reigns, etc., etc., etc. So you have that conversation. Then you have the previous Friday Night SmackDown where Heyman told Rollins not to go back in the ring, and he did anyway. And he wouldn't let the Bronze help him. So, some dissension going on here. But zero in on that backstage between Rollins and Heyman. where Heyman listed all of the things that would happen if Rollins lost the match. And he said, just win. Well, if all of those doubts are starting to creep in and Rollins ends up winning like he did, how is this group supposed to function with Rollins winning? Obviously, how are they supposed to function with Rollins losing? I said on the preview show that I felt it was more compelling for Rollins to lose, and most talking heads in the wrestling space agreed with me. Not saying it was my idea, but you get my point. Most everybody agreed that the story would be better if Rollins lost, but Rollins won. Okay. Apologize for the cough there. So, Rollins wins. It can also be a compelling story. Even more compelling, the fact that this turn comes now. Well, it seems like it came out of nowhere. That's why I think a lot of people online are reacting the way they are, that it's a major pivot. It's this. Okay. It could be. It could be. But how did you expect this faction to function following a Seth Rollins win? Like, what did you expect them to do? Did you expect a heel Seth Rollins who is chasing QB1, who is chasing to be the greatest of all time, who is chasing to get this monkey off his back that is Cody Rhodes? How did you expect him to react? There's no way that you expected him to walk out there and be humble about beating Cody Rhodes and all that. You expected him to come out and say, I told you so. I told you I'm the best. I told you I didn't need anybody, especially because Heyman said that the Brons are not going to be at ringside. Of course you expect a heel wrestler to say, well, of course I did it on my own. I didn't need any help. So naturally, just take that as a person. When somebody says they don't need you, your natural reaction is, well, see ya. It's a two-way street here. You don't need me. I guess I don't need you either. Of course, Bron Breakker is going to react like that. And this chemistry that Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker have built up, yeah, Bronson's going to go with him, and Paul Heyman's always going to go with the winners. He knows the future is Bron Breakker. That's who he's been close to for the last month. Yeah, he's going to go with him. So, like, while the rumors of this being a major pivot may be true, it may end up being that. It may be that Seth Rollins is hurt. He's going to be out for a while. It may be that CM Punk is going to face Bron Breakker for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship at the upcoming Saturday night's main event. That might happen. All that to say, though, this turn has been coming. It's been building. The breadcrumbs have been laid. If you watch the product, if you're following the product, you know these things. So it's not like this was a major pivot. It just may have happened sooner than they thought. I don't know. WWE might have told a good story and worked us. Well, there's a novel idea. This is entertainment. It seems so rushed. So I think people are just reacting that way. It might not be rushed. Seems that way, but it might not be. All I'm saying is let's just wait and see. Let's let it play out. Let's see what happens. You never know. It could all be a ruse. I mean, we did just come off a SummerSlam where Seth Rollins faked an injury. I don't know. I do buy into that rumor just a little bit, though, that this might have been rushed because it seemed, why would you take out a member of a faction who it seemed like they were going to War Games? Like, War Games is all about factions, and the Vision would be the faction, and you insert Brock Lesnar and Austin Theory, I guess, or whatever, I don't know, into this. So I don't know. I'm anxious to see how it plays out, though. I'm anxious to see how it plays out. Not what I was expecting to lead the show with tonight. Not what I was expecting to talk about. Seth Rollins getting ambushed by the Vision. Steady Kitty in the chat, the visionary has lost his vision. Yes, he has lost his vision. Andy York in the chat. What's going on, everybody? Andy, man, you talk about flipping it on its head, brother. Turning it upside down. Oh my gosh. I don't know. That word pivot's getting thrown around a whole lot again, Andy. I don't know. I just don't know about it. I don't know. I'm just excited to see it. I'm excited to see what happens. See how it all shakes out. I said it on the preview show that Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes were going to put on a banger of a match at Crown Jewel. But what happened after the match was going to tell the story. The real story was afterwards. Man, I called it. I didn't know that I was going to call it that well. I can't take credit for it. All I'm saying is go back and watch that preview episode, because I did say what happens afterwards is what's going to be the story. All right. Speaking of Crown Jewel, we're going to go back and we're going to talk all about Crown Jewel. We're going to talk about AJ Styles, John Cena. I'll even get into this Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins match, all of those kind of things. We'll get into that. But first, let's hear from the Reverend Tom Bryce to tell you about our friends over at SportsWire Radio.
Looking for all the latest happenings in the world of sports and wrestling? Well, you're in luck, because SportsWire Radio has you covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. With great shows in the world of sports, such as the Pinstripe Chronicles, hosted by Uncle Tats, Donald Stewart, and Rob Barrows. New York Baseball Talk with Chris Bazaya and Rob Maraska. The Liftoff Jets, also hosted by Chris Bazaya and Sharman Phillip. Neil Villapiano and the Devil's State of Mind. Randy Dillon's Hockey Fan Chat. In the world of wrestling, SportsWire Radio has you covered with Squared Circle Radio, featuring Chris Belcher, Andy York, and Jared Justice. Those sit-down marks with DB, Primo, AJ, and Michael. A work in progress, featuring the Mayor of Canton, Piles, and Glenn Abbott. You can catch all of these great shows and more anytime, anywhere, and any place via the Listen Live button on SportsWireRadio.org, and you can also catch SportsWire Radio anytime on YouTube at SportsWire Radio 6579 to catch all the latest happenings in the world of wrestling. SportsWire Radio has you covered. It's all sports matters and all wrestling matters here on SportsWire Radio. I am your host, the owner of SportsWire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the owner of the Promo Wrestling Federation, and one of the owners of the Pride Wrestling Federation. Your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryce.
All right. Thank you to Tom Bryce. Thank you to SportsWire Radio. If you haven't checked out Tom Bryce's interview over on the SportsWire Radio YouTube channel with original Saliva frontman Josie Scott, go check it out. It is a load of fun. Saliva was one of my jams in the early 2000s, and Josie Scott, incredible voice. So go check that out. Tell him I sent you. I don't know what that's going to do, but just tell him that I sent you. My name is Chris Belcher, and this is Squared Circle Radio. We appreciate you guys being tuned in with us on our YouTube channel live. Drop those comments, drop those questions, drop your thoughts about Crown Jewel and all of the aftermath. Drop it all in the chat. I'll try to get to as many of those comments as I can. If you're watching the replay, you can still drop comments, and I'll respond to as many of those as I can as well. And if you're listening on podcast, #1, hop on over to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you a thing, helps us a ton. But if you're listening on podcast, just make sure you're subscribed on whatever platform that you are listening. Leave us a review. 5 stars is the best way to do that. We would appreciate it. As I said at the top of the show, I am battling a terribly scratchy throat. This weather changing in Tennessee is absolutely just killing me. So I apologize if I cough or if I have to hit this mute button over here. I will do the best that I can, but I apologize in advance. Let's talk about Crown Jewel. Huge event over the weekend on Saturday from Perth, Australia. It was an early one. I hope you set your alarm, but if you're like me, you just watch the replay, and that's okay too. Let's talk about the main event. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. As I also said at the top of this show, an event where both Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns gets pinned. I mean, come on. What an incredible show. Now, of course, the Vision imploding on Monday Night Raw. If you're watching this individual clip, you can go check out in our archives the clip of me talking about that if you want to hear more about that. But I'm going to try to focus on just the match right now for the Men's Crown Jewel Championship. Seth Rollins, who I originally picked when this match was first announced, Seth Rollins was my pick to win this thing. He needed the win over Cody. He was 0-3 against Cody Rhodes in his career. Well, career since Cody came back at WrestleMania 38. Seth needed this win. If Seth was going to be considered a main event player, a face of the franchise, as you might say, he had to get a win over Cody Rhodes, especially like Paul Heyman said in their backstage interaction, to make sure he's not a second-rate champion, to make that championship feel less than, then he needed to go beat Cody Rhodes. That is exactly what he did. And what a match they put on. It was going to be hard to follow a John Cena AJ Styles match. And buddy, they did in an incredible way. You knew these two were going to tear the house down. You knew these two were going to give us a match of the year candidate, and they actually did. I mean, my goodness. Seth Rollins pulling out of coast to coast. I know he got hurt on it, and you could tell he was immediately favoring his arm for the rest of the match. But Rollins pulling out of coast to coast. Cody Rhodes, an avalanche crossroads. I hate that that wasn't the finish. It's the first time we've really ever seen that move, and it wasn't the finish. So, but ultimately, I said on the preview show that I thought Cody Rhodes would win because I thought the more compelling story would be Seth Rollins losing. Well, it turns out it's a pretty compelling story over on Monday Night Raw. You can go back in the archives, check out our reaction to the Vision imploding. But nonetheless, Seth Rollins wins. He's the Men's Crown Jewel champion for this year. What an incredible match that was. And what an incredible reaction. Listen, the crowd was hot all night long for Crown Jewel, but what a reaction they gave Seth Rollins. Singing his song, chanting his name, all of the things. Like, you would have thought this was a babyface versus babyface match. And that continued all the way through Monday Night Raw and the promo that Rollins cut at the beginning. The crowd was right there with him. Incredible how much they love Seth Rollins. City Kitty live in the chat with us. Thank you. That was an amazing move from Cody. It was. That avalanche crossroads was wild. I mean, they pulled that one right out of WWE 2K25. It was incredible. It really was. And then Rollins hitting a Spanish fly. We haven't seen Rollins hit a Spanish fly. These guys just pulling out crazy moves. It was incredible. Really was an incredible match. Well, let's talk about the other incredible match from Crown Jewel. The love letter to wrestling that AJ Styles and John Cena penned at Crown Jewel was just unbelievable. I mean, obviously, they're giving tribute to all of some of Cena's, past opponents, even some of AJ's past opponents. I'm going to try to bring up, here we go. I got the list here on my phone. A skull-crushing finale. Of course, The Miz, Rusev's Accolade, Chris Jericho's Walls of Jericho, a Sister Abigail, the Hangman DDT and RKO of Randy Orton, a Kane chokeslam, a Undertaker tombstone, attempted a 619, attempted a pedigree, a Scorpion Death Drop of Sting, Samoa Joe's Coquina Clutch, Christopher Daniels Angel's Wings, Dead Eye from Frankie Kazarian, Sweet Chin Music from Shawn Michaels. All of those moves happened in that match. And then, of course, it made me think of the Randy Orton and Edge match that we got in 2020 Backlash, dubbed the greatest wrestling match ever. And it would have gotten the same reaction as this had we had crowds, but of course it was in 2020. So we did not have crowds for that. But just an unbelievable match between these two guys. AJ said it on the Crown Jewel preview podcast that Sam Roberts and Megan Morant and Big E did with him. He said, it's going to be something special. It's going to be something people remember, and people remembered it for sure. People also remembered AJ's gear. AJ pulling out his gear that he was wearing when he was featured on the cover of Pro Wrestling Illustrated with John Cena. And the year escapes me that it was. I'm sure it was around 05, 06, something like that. But AJ wearing that gear was really, really cool. And then John Cena with the introduction for AJ that he wrote, that apparently AJ had no idea was coming. And all that was just so cool. This match was exactly what it needed to be. And it was awesome. It was so, so cool. All right. Swig a Mountain Dew for the working man here as we keep trucking along. I mentioned Roman Reigns getting pinned at this pay-per-view. Only the second time that Roman Reigns has been pinned in about 5 years. Here we go. Here's some chats real quick before I move on to Bronson Reed and Roman Reigns. Easily Cena's best match of the year. Better than the Cody match at SummerSlam, Andy? Interesting. Okay. I like it. I don't want to say that it was better. It's a toss-up between those two. Vacation Aaron back with us in the chat. Shocking. It was shocking. I assume you're talking about the end to Monday Raw, not Monday Night Raw, Monday Raw with the Vision. Yes, it was very shocking. I spent the first 15 minutes of the show talking about that, Aaron. So rewind the show once we get done and you can go check that out. But yes, it was shocking that they turned on Seth Rollins. It was shocking that Seth Rollins won the Men's Crown Jewel Championship. And it was shocking that Bronson Reed became the second man in 5 years to pin Roman Reigns in a singles match. Oh, Aaron was talking about the horrid officiating in Monday Night Football, but the ending was okay, fine. Didn't your Bears win though? Or are they winning? I got to check the score real quick. So, since we're live in the chat, we're just having a good time here. I'm not even watching the game. I'm trying to do a show. I'm trying to be professional, Aaron. Do a show. Oh, they're not winning anymore. Sorry. Sorry to rub that in. Anyway, I picked them to win, so hopefully they win. Anyway, Bronson Reed, back to the matter at hand. Bronson Reed pins Roman Reigns. And sorry for your loss there, Aaron. Sorry. Bronson Reed. I mean, I talked about it just a little bit ago. The vision was set up to make Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker, really just for Bron Breakker, but Bronson Reed has really emerged, especially because he laid out Seth Rollins before they became the vision, before he went on the shelf. And now he pins Roman Reigns. He's beaten Randy Orton. Bronson Reed is a big deal. And not too many people pin Roman Reigns. And I know people technically don't have creative control in their contracts anymore. We're not Rock and Hogan and all that kind of stuff. But you better believe that Roman Reigns has a little bit of say-so in who pins his shoulders to the mat. And Bronson Reed gets to do it. Lots of people believe in Bronson Reed. I will tell you that right now. And then the aftermath of that match, the Usos trying to help out Roman and Roman getting upset with him. I'm interested. They sort of touched on this on Monday Night Raw with Jay and Jimmy talking about Roman doing his own thing, and Jay and Jimmy kind of butting heads over this whole thing, and Roman not changing and them trying to help him out and all this kind of stuff. I'm not sure where this is going to go. It's a really interesting story with how Roman was trying to help Jay and help him to grab the spotlight and to be able to stay there. And it's a lot harder to stay in the spotlight than to get there, and trying to teach him those lessons and all that. And Roman telling them at the end of this match, hey, nobody thinks that I can do this on my own. Everybody thinks that I just need help. Excuse me. Everybody thinks that he needs help, and he's trying to do it on his own. Andy says, I think Bronson Reed is the only person to pin both Roman Reigns and Okada. I'm sure he is. Because, Andy, I don't know too many people that have wrestled both Roman Reigns and Okada other than Chris Jericho. Did Jericho pin Okada? That's something for you to look up there, Andy, in the chat if you're hanging with us. So I know he pinned Roman Reigns. That was, of course, before Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, but still, he pinned him. City Kitty dropping comments. Roman loves the Usos, but doesn't want to see them again until Christmas. Well, that just means we probably won't see Roman Reigns until Christmas, City Kitty, which is not good. We need Roman Reigns on our television. Aaron says Eugene has pinned them both. Ha! I'll call up Jared Justice right now and tell him about Eugene pinning both Roman Reigns and Okada. Hey, Eugene's surefire Hall of Famer if that's the case. Shout out Nick Dinsmore on that one. All right. Let's move on. Kabuki Warriors falling in defeat to Rhea. I almost said Rio. Not Rio. Rio's in AEW. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. Here we go. Mox Danielson and a couple others have come through Japan and WWE, I would assume. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Andy talking about, again, who has pinned Roman and Okada. Has Danielson pinned Roman, though? Did Mox ever pin Roman? Interesting. I don't know. In any event, Rhea Ripley, the hometown girl, and Io Sky getting the win over the Kabuki Warriors. A really fun match. Honestly, I really enjoyed this one. What I was really happy about, I thought a really big detail in this match that probably not a lot of people got. Rhea Ripley being the hometown hero. You would think she's going to be the one to get the pin. She's going to, be the one to celebrate, whatever. I thought it was really important that Io Sky got the pin in this match, because this story is more about the conflict between the Kabuki Warriors and Io. Rhea, I feel like, is just catching strays and is just there because she's friends with Io. So Io getting the pin spoke volumes to me. I felt like that was really, really important for her to get this pin to further this story, because I'm not sure how much. I know Rhea wrestled Kairi Sane on Raw, but I don't know how much Rhea is going to be involved with this story going forward. So Io getting the pin was a really big deal. Again, a really fun match. I thought it was really, really good. Stephanie Vaquer getting the win over Tiffany Stratton was a bit shocking to me, honestly. Stephanie Vaquer barely being in WWE on the main roster it hasn't been that long. She's already women's world champion, and she's a Crown Jewel champion. I don't know if it speaks more volumes to how confident they are with Stephanie Vaquer, or if we're losing it with Tiffany Stratton. Like, I don't know what's next for Tiffany Stratton. She's beaten Jade Cargill a couple of times. How many more times can she wrestle Nia Jax? I'm telling you, the money match right now. Let's take the title off of Tiffany while she's still popular and give her time to chase the title. I'm telling you, picture it. Tiffany Stratton, Chelsea Green. It would be incredible. Maybe not incredible for Tiffany. I feel like Chelsea would just tear her up on the mic. Nonetheless, it would be a great feud. Chelsea Green being the next women's champion would be absolutely incredible. That's what should be next for Tiffany Stratton. But all that to say, I thought this match honestly was the worst match of the night. It was good, but it just, I don't know. It didn't feel like it went anywhere. It was just kind of there. I'm not sure if it was a chemistry issue or what, but it was just kind of there. Wasn't a huge fan of it, but I was a huge fan of Crown Jewel. I thought the whole show was really, really good. I think ESPN gave it a B, but I'm not worried about their grades. What do they know? It's fine. But I thought it was a really good show. I really did. Again, a show where both Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns gets pinned. It's a good show. All right. Couple of quick things before we get out of here. From Friday Night SmackDown, Aleister Black and Damian Priest in a last man standing match. You should have put that one on the Crown Jewel card. That was really, really good. Really, really good. We've seen the fireball spot go wrong so many times. Obviously, I think back to Hogan Warrior Halloween Havoc 1998, but it went right on this one. You had Zelina Vega aligning herself with her husband, which I thought was awesome. So I thought that match was really, really fun. I hate the fact, though, that this is like the second big feud for Damian Priest since he lost the championship. I mean, of course, he did some stuff with the Judgment Day, but this is really the second big feud since he lost the championship, and he's lost both of those feuds. I know he beat McIntyre in a steel cage on Saturday Night's Main Event, but I don't think he won that feud. He lost the WrestleMania match. That's the important one. I think he loses the feud to Drew McIntyre, and now he's lost this feud to Malachi Black, which couldn't even, or Aleister Black, which couldn't even get on a pay-per-view. So, I don't know what that says about Damian Priest. I don't know what they're going to do with him going forward. You got to get him in a better spot. I know he's still got a nice reaction from the crowd, but I think they need to get him in a better spot. But again, Zelina Vega aligning herself with her husband, Aleister Black. I think that's cool. Very, very cool. I'm excited to see if they do something with that. They need to give Aleister Black a bigger spot, more compelling spot. Heck, let's have him go after the championship. Why not? Why not? I'm not familiar. If Andy is still in the chat, Andy, please chime in here. Or if anybody else is in the chat that knows, please let me know. The face paint that the MFT wore, specifically Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. I think it was a thing for them in Japan. I'm not sure, but it was really, really cool. It made those guys look menacing. Really gave them some credibility. Really gave pardon the pun, a facelift to the MFT. I thought it was really, really cool. I thought it was done really, really well. Again, made them look more credible. Attacking Sammy and Shinsuke, trying to go after the Wyatt Six, but not as successful that time. So I'm anxious to see kind of where they go, who they're going to feud with. So lots of interesting things in the world of wrestling this week. Lots of wait and see. Lots of Really good stuff. This was probably one of the better overseas show that WWE has done in a long, long time, if not the best, truthfully. And now we're heading into a point of the year where normally it wouldn't be as exciting, but there's lots of question marks. Some maybe they're legit question marks. Some maybe they're storyline question marks. I don't know. That's the exciting part. Let's just focus on what's on our screen. Watch the product. That's Sam Roberts' #1 rule. Watch the product. Just watch what is on your screen. Take it for what it is. It's entertainment. Let's enjoy the ride. I'm excited. I'm excited for what's to come. Saturday night's main event in 2.5 weeks, I think. And then Survivor Series will be 4 weeks after that. John Cena's final match is right around the corner as well. And then before we know it, the Royal Rumble will be here. So, lots to cover. We're going to be right here with you every Monday night after Raw, talking about all the things. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Again, if it's your first time, subscribe to the channel. We would appreciate that so very much. Tell a friend. Your circle of friends that are wrestling fans is a circle of fans that I can't reach. Tell them about the show. Bring them in. Let's build this community up. I would love for more people to be in the chat with us each and every Monday night, chiming in with what you want to hear about, because I certainly want to talk about what you want to hear about. The show is for the fans, by the fans. So we appreciate you being here with us. Again, if you're just listening on podcast, hit the subscribe button, but hop on over to YouTube as well. My name is Chris Belcher. This has been another edition of Squared Circle Radio Live. We will catch you guys down the road.